the Wrestling World Podcast Network, and this is our inaugural. We're popping cherries all around over here because this is our first live episode on Twitter. This is JB's first live episode on Let Me Talk to You. We're just breaking ground all the way around right now. JB, for anyone who only listens to Let Me Talk to You, which they're missing some just great content on our other podcasts, tell the people a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself, JB.
Well, my name is JB. I've been watching wrestling for years, since 1986, since I was 3 years old. Joined the WWPN around when WWE Backlash came out about a month or so ago. And I've been having fun talking wrestling and getting to meet the WWPN universe and ready to dreadfully talk some TNA.
Oh, God, that episode, man. All I can say is that TNA has been really good lately. And it just sucks with all the bad news and publicity and everything that's going on that we get an episode like that. I don't really, it's terrible. But before we get into the episode itself and that breakdown, let's talk about some of the news that came out. And I know, JB, I know you recently just got into watching TNA, probably because I just keep pounding your head about how good it is. So it came out a little bit after I got off work today that Billy Corgan filed a lawsuit against Dixie Carter and TNA. And then it came out a couple hours after that the production company for TNA also filed a lawsuit against them. So I don't know how you feel about that. I don't know your thoughts about that. I have a couple of thoughts, but just in general, and like I said, I know you don't know too much in depth about TNA and their history there, but just what do you think about a part owner of a company filing a lawsuit against said company and one of the other majority owners?
I think what's going on here, and this is just purely speaking from a business standpoint, like you said, I don't know much about the history of TNA, but what I think is happening is I think Dixie Carter probably is trying to push Billy Corgan out. And Billy Corgan, obviously he has, as far as I know, he has a part ownership in TNA, whether however big percentage it is. And I think he's probably funded a lot of the things maybe recently as far as tapings and other things. And maybe she is trying to push him out for whatever reason. And I think that's where this issue is coming in. Obviously, we don't know what the lawsuit is for. Billy Corgan asked for everything to be kept kind of hush-hush, so we don't know. But it kind of reminds me, I don't know if you don't know the story, the whole story with Mark Zuckerberg when he had Facebook, and I don't know if you saw the movie Social Network, but him and his friend, they started Facebook. His friend was kind of the CFO and funding everything and putting up his money. And then when Mark Zuckerberg got big and he met the owner of Napster and they were going huge, he kind of X'd his friend out. He made his friend sign paperwork. His friend didn't know what he was doing, and he kind of removed him from the company. And his friend ended up suing him for millions and millions of dollars and won because he had originally funded a lot of this stuff. So I'm wondering if it's going to go the same route. Again, we don't know what the lawsuit is for, but to be honest with you, the sale of TNA is one of the reasons why I started watching TNA, because I'm interested to see where it goes, who takes over, where they go from here. So that's my take on it. What about you?
I have a different take on it. I understand that Dixie, you said that Dixie's maybe trying to push Corgan out. I have a different perspective on it, and that is the other way around. I think that Corgan is trying to push Dixie's hand here, and this is why. Is that so Corgan waited until they taped all their episodes for the rest of the year, so he's not really impacting the wrestlers' chances of making money or them filming or anything like that. He waited until after Bound for Glory, and so you file that lawsuit trying to force her to sell, because what I think is going to end up happening is both Corgan and the production company are now having lawsuits against TNA and Dixie. So you would think that maybe that they kind of agreed to do that together, to kind of file separately, because that forces her hand. And what that does is that you could go to court now and say, hey, we're suing you. If this goes through and this lawsuit ends up being cleared, you're not going to have any money left to run TNA, and then we're going to be able to probably buy the company from out underneath you. It's kind of like a hostile takeover. So then now what you do is when you're negotiating, you say, hey, we can settle this lawsuit out of court. All you have to do is we'll give you a fair price for TNA. We'll walk away with the company, so that way what you owe us goes off the books. Now we can make our own money. At least that's my opinion. And I think that this is a version of a hostile takeover. What do you think about that speculation there?
Here's the thing that sounds really good on paper. However, and I'm going to confirm this because I don't want to sound like an idiot. There's only one problem with what you just said, and I'm actually checking right now.
What's
This
that?
to confirm, because basically you said that they're the production team and Billy Corgan, they're trying to team up, go to Dixie, try to say we're suing you, and either you pay up or get out, because obviously she wouldn't be able to do it. The problem with that statement is Dixie Carter is worth millions of dollars, as I'm checking now online. So for her to pay some lawsuits, it's really nothing, depending on the size of the lawsuits. We don't know what it is, but
Well,
they're worth millions.
yeah, she's worth millions, but the thing is that if she was worth millions and willing to put that into the company, TNA wouldn't be where it is. So even though she's worth millions, obviously, I think, at least this is my opinion. Let me not say obvious. This is just opinion here. Is that she wants to save some of them, but she doesn't want to put a certain amount of money into the company unless it's sustainable on its own. And I mean, that makes sense business wise. So why risk losing your millions if you're not trying to lose them to make your company better? Like that. That's just, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I understand where you're coming from. I just think that, I think they're trying to force her hand. I just see it from the other perspective, but you could very well be correct also.
What are the slight odds that all of this shit we're seeing is a work between Corgan and Dixie Carter, or is that too far out?
This is wrestling, bro. Like it honestly, nothing is too far fetched to be a work. Like it's just,
you never know. Like they're like, listen, this is what we do. This is how we get to the next level. We're gonna have a feud, and next thing it'll be on screen. Maybe they might not do it on screen right away because then it gives it away. But you don't know. It could be. We're not gonna know until it kind of pans out.
Yeah, true. So I mean, we'll definitely see what happens there. I for one, I can't wait. Like I'm ready for a conclusion to all this crap that's going on in TNA. Like something has to give here. Like it just does. But it is what it is. I could just be talking out the side of my damn neck. So who knows? But
well, I'm sure we'll find out. Yeah,
we'll find out soon. I mean, it has to be a conclusion. There's a reason why. Because even for TNA, taping 2.5 months worth of shows is very rare, even for them. So I think they did that with mind on, now we can try to work out the sell. The wrestlers have gotten their paychecks because they get paid per appearance. They've gotten their paychecks for the rest of the year. So there's no issue there. They worked that out however they did. So yeah, I mean, this is the time you would have to think before it's time for cameras to start rolling again. This company has to be sold. Like it just has to be. You can't keep leaving people's livelihoods up in the air, especially now that they're not going to be in the impact zone doing anything, having their ears to the ground at all. Like I would go crazy. I couldn't imagine being employed by somebody in this type of situation. I couldn't imagine it at all.
But school me on TNA for a little bit so I understand. Do they have contracts, or are they free to go, like, do some New Japan type stuff or indie stuff because they're basically at a break period. They don't do house shows. They really are not going to do nothing for the rest of the year.
So the way that TNA the newer contracts, so they have like two different types of contracts going on. So everyone who's re-signed in the last year and signed those new contracts, they can work other companies, other promotions that don't have TV, but TNA, I believe, has to clear it or something like that. Now, for the ones that signed the contracts when TNA was at its lowest point, I believe as long as they're not taping TNA events or they don't have anything scheduled, they're free to work wherever the hell they want to, as long as it's not televised. So, you have like EC3 and Drew Galloway, they have to get clearance before they can work anywhere else, regardless if it's TV or not. Now, usually TNA clears it as long as it doesn't interfere with their schedule, but they do have to get that approval. But people like this year, like the Bromans or Crazy Steve or Grado, as long as they're not scheduled for a TNA event, they can work anywhere as long as it's not filmed.
Gotcha. And I don't want to go too much into this. Obviously, people know this is just for my FYI, and also if anyone's listening to the show for the first time and they don't know much about TNA, it's also a little bit of education for them. But I know they record in Universal Studios. Now, do they charge people to come to that show? Because normally when you pay Universal Studios, you get entrance into the park.
Yeah, no, they can't. They cannot charge door prices. They can't charge for seats. They can't charge for it. That's part of the reason why TNA is in such a bad spot, is because they don't do shows and they're not generating any money off their events. Go ahead.
So let me say this again. I don't watch TNA a lot, and my wife doesn't really watch wrestling at all, and she's never seen TNA except a little bit of she's seen me watching it on TV here and there. She can't even name one wrestler in TNA. But again, we're talking the business aspect. I can understand why they're going to do house shows because it costs a lot of money to travel. But what my wife was saying, which I thought made perfect sense, I'm sure they're paying like a huge bill to rent out Universal Studios because it's I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's something big. Why not cut Universal Studios, go to a smaller venue and actually charge fans to go in, regardless of whatever the cost is, make it a small venue, take a page out of ECW's book, maybe like when they were at bingo halls. I mean, why not try to start that? I mean, if they're strapped for cash, why not go that route? Because I know the Universal Studios bill is a hefty bill.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't really say there. You think that would make a lot of sense? Maybe they have a contract there to where they have to fulfill it for a certain amount of time. No, but that would probably be the first thing they need to get out of is that. And like you said, go to a smaller venue. The Impact Zone is rarely filled to capacity, so you would think that a smaller venue may suit them well because then your TV episodes look more filled. You can say you sold out the house. You don't have to say how big that sellout was.
Exactly.
But, so I mean, yeah, there's definitely things like that. And Corgan's actually talked a lot, and that's why I hope he does buy the company, about getting back to doing things like house shows and just getting fresh again and just doing the things that normal wrestling companies do. No matter what, since they're not making anything based off seats now, if you go to a smaller venue and you sell out those seats and you get money from that, that's more revenue. That's 100% increase if you sell one seat than what you're now. So,
and are they not doing merch?
They're doing
Bobby
merch
Lashley wears like American Top Team, and for those who don't know, American Top Team is a MMA fighting school, if you want to call it. He's wearing like American Top Team gear rather than like his own gear or like TNA gear, which I found odd as hell.
Yeah, they're on Pro Wrestling Tees now, so a lot of their stuff. Oh crap! What the hell? Sorry about that. A lot of their stuff has gotten put on Pro Wrestling Tees. So they have merch through that now. I'm not sure how that breakdown works as far as making money off Pro Wrestling Tees, but that's where they don't have anything. That they rarely sell DVDs. I think the only DVD they started selling this year was that AJ Styles DVD, which made sense because he was coming to WWE. You wanted to capitalize on that. I mean, they're not doing anything, and they have kept like that Eli Drake, that damn dummy button. I would have bought
one.
Me
too. Me too.
Like I probably would have bought one for home for the kids when they started acting crazy. Like hit it there, get smacked by the wife for hitting it, and so that work. I would have bought probably one or two of those, and they did not capitalize on that. And now I think they are coming out with an app. Don't know if it's a paid app or whatever, but they need to do something to capitalize on stuff like that. They have. Contrary to WWE, TNA still has those, like we talked about in our vintage review. They still have some of those larger than life characters. They have Decay, they have EC3, they have just characters that you're not going to walk around and see in regular life, and so it makes their catchphrases and things with them a little more catchy, and they don't capitalize on that at all.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. But basically, that's Wrestling Economics 101 by CEO Hayes and JB.
Broke that down. See, look, we could run TNA. I don't think we could do a worse job than what's being done there.
No, what they need to do is reach out and call us, and we can get things going again. Let me ask you this. Exactly. Let me ask you this question before we get into TNA. And I know you're a fan of TNA, so don't be biased on this. If NXT was a televised show, and I'm not saying not on USA Network, but on a smaller network, do you think they would beat TNA in ratings?
Probably not.
Don't be biased.
Honestly,
don't be biased.
Here's the thing. Well, I don't know, because to me they're both down right now. They're both down to what they can be. So I don't know. Probably though. Honestly, because of TNA's just the stigma around that name TNA, probably beat them in ratings. So
yeah, I think they would.
Yeah, they'd beat them in ratings. But anyway, let's get into the TNA review. And so TNA opened today. And I hate it when shows do this. And every show except like ROH does it, and they even started doing it now. Open with the goddamn talking segment. Why? This is a wrestling show. We want to see action. Like open it up with a backstage attack or something. But the new champ, Eddie Edwards, talks about becoming the world champion. He cuts a pretty decent promo. He's not the best on the mic here, but it was serviceable, which brings out Lashley, who Lashley just proceeds to destroy the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I don't like seeing this for a champion, fresh off his run. I like to see him a little more formidable. But, Lashley's the beast. They've been pushing him as the beast all year. How'd you feel about the show opening in this way? And then a champion who I'm sure you're not that familiar with getting decimated to open the show.
Well, I think they're just probably trying to do two things here, which is one, garner some sympathy for Eddie Edwards, and number two, they're trying to show that Bobby Lashley is still dominant. Obviously, he's going to be that way. So that I think that and just further along the story, I'm so used to every promotion opening up the same way. So I didn't even think about like, oh man, look, they're doing it again, because it's just ingrained in my mind that a show is supposed to be opened up with an in-ring promo. It's just how it is. I do like the fact that, I agree that they should go ahead and mix it up a little bit. SmackDown does it every now and then, but and regarding the attack, I guess I don't understand. But to be honest with you, and again, I don't know how over Eddie Edwards is with the internet world and all that, but I thought it was just totally random that a mid-carder, or at least who I think is a mid-carder, because again, I haven't been around long, just without any story, without any build, any feud, just came out of nowhere and won a world title. That was some really weird booking to me. I don't know if it makes sense to you guys that have been watching TNA for a long time, but from what I saw of Eddie Edwards is he was in the Grand Championship tournament. He lost, and even though he lost because Drew Gallagher got injured, he got put in it again and lost again. And then next thing you know, he's the world champion. So I was like, what the fuck is this?
So, Eddie Edwards is part of the Wolves, which is the most over tag team. Well, that was before Decay and
the Hardys.
The Hardy Boys. Yeah, but he was the Wolves were the most over tag team in TNA, and his partner Davey Richards went down with injury. They then followed that up with him getting a run at him, and Bobby Lashley feuded for a while over the world title because Eddie Edwards won the TNA the X Division title, and then they were feuding because he had a shot at the world title, and they had, I think, 2 or 3 great matches, absolutely great matches, but he didn't win. So I think the best way I can really categorize it is it's like Daniel Bryan light. Is that they wanted to tell the underdog story, but he's a hell of a wrestler. He was actually the champion in ROH before him and his partner in the Wolves. They both came from ROH and they both had world title runs there. So him getting a world title isn't surprising at all. Considering he's by himself and also his run, if you've seen the whole year. But that's part of what's bad with TNA's writing. TNA tells great stories, don't get me wrong, and they have depth in their storytelling. Writing, the writing's on point, but it makes it hard to just jump in and know what the hell is going on. Because for people who hear, like, let's say I've been telling you for months, TNA's great, 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 and then you watch it, you're going to be looking like, okay, even though I'm fresh to this, I really don't understand what's going on, because the way that TNA writes is that they try to make as many people as they can look credible. If they get world title runs, they try to have it to where any week they can have someone all of a sudden go for the world title, and it makes sense storyline wise. But for a new viewer to watch that, even if you came in one week and then watch the next week, you'll be seeing one week somebody fight in a random mid-card match, and then the next week they're face-to-face with the world champion, and it won't make sense unless you saw the last 3 months of booking. So that's a little problem there. Like I said, I appreciated someone who watches TNA all the time, but the fact is that your viewership is extremely low, so you need to build that new viewership and have it in a way that you can bring in new viewers, and they're not doing that at all.
Right. So. I don't think it's 100% detrimental, because I will say this. When Eddie Edwards did beat Lashley for the title, the first thing that came into my head is like, holy shit, you don't know what this could happen any week. Like, it's just, which is like something that I think is missing from WWE. Like the everything is so predictable nowadays with WWE, majority of it, 99% of it. So when I saw this on TNA, I'm like, holy shit, these guys are unpredictable. Anything can happen. Like this mid-carder came out of nowhere and just won the world title. So I do like that a little bit of unpredictability, but yeah, the writing needs to kind of get a little better. But did Eddie Edwards actually have a like Daniel? You talk about being a Daniel Bryan light. Daniel Bryan, we saw for like almost a year of his like struggle trying to, his whole struggle trying to get the title, his journey, if you will. Did Eddie Edwards have that type of struggle or a journey, or was it just like a 1, 2, 3 type of thing?
I mean, no, because he was in a tag team. That was originally what it was supposed to be, is a tag team, and that's what he was in, and they were very over, and all that makes sense. But then it turned from that to, now your partner's down and you have to go after the world title. They kind of threw him into it in that sense. So no, he didn't have that same run like Daniel Bryan did. It was similar, but it wasn't the same. So I can understand your points there.
Gotcha. And on to TNA Impact.
Yeah, but funny, hilarious. But yeah, so anything else? All right. So the next thing that happened, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my run sheet up, and that is the Grand Championship match between Jesse Goddard and Aaron Rex, who you would know as Damian Sandow. First of all, what are you? I know you've been probably watching almost since the whole Grand Championship has been around. What are your thoughts on this?
You mean the Grand Championship itself?
Yeah, the Grand Championship itself.
So when I initially heard it, at first I was like, yeah, this doesn't sound like a good idea. But then I thought about it. I'm like, let me give it a chance. So the conclusion I came up with is, if they book this properly, it could be a good thing because it's something different. Some people might like it, some people might not, but it's something different. I think they were kind of trying to appeal to the MMA crowd because MMA is short rounds and scoring and et cetera, et cetera. If the booking was done right, and tonight was a perfect example of how they screwed up the booking in this type of match, because I already knew there was no way Jesse Goddard was going to go over. Damian Sandow was going to win. Goddard's won the first 2 rounds, and if this was, obviously we know wrestling is scripted and not real, et cetera, but they have to suspend your belief. So if this was a real match, wouldn't Jesse Goddard have did his best to just run away from Damian Sandow? So I understand he's trying to be competitive and a good sportsman, blah, 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 but it's a freaking title. So wouldn't he have tried to avoid him for 2-3 minutes and win the title? He obviously won the first 2 rounds. And I was just hoping we would never see a match booked the way we saw tonight, because it just doesn't make sense. Overall, though, it's been okay, but I didn't like the way it was booked tonight.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I don't know. And they're trying to turn Damian Sandow heel and all that crazy shit. And it's just, I don't know. I'm disappointed with Damian Sandow since he's really been in TNA, and I had such high hopes for him, and he has not really hit any of that, like any of it at all, not even a little bit. Why? I don't freaking know, because I would hope that they see now why WWE probably did not book Sandow the way we all wanted him to, why he wasn't on TV that often and everything else. Because I mean, just look at this, like he's doesn't look as good in the ring as I expected him to. I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff going on here that it's just like, why is this not happening the way that it should be? In your opinion, does Damian Sandow, the hype that he build up, was it worth it?
Here's the thing. I kind of disagree a little bit with what you said about, the comment regarding WWE. And it kind of reminds me of, back in the day, Bret Hart. When Bret Hart was in WWE, obviously he was amazing. He went to WCW and he was like a different Bret Hart. And everybody always wondered, like, what the hell happened to this guy? This guy was like one of the best, and now he's like nothing. And the rumor was Bret Hart his brother had died and everything. He just wasn't into it. And I kind of have the feeling that's Damian Sandow, right? Or Aaron Rex. That's what his thing is right now. I don't think he's putting in 100% effort into it. When he was in WWE, he was entertaining as hell, and he had some good matches. I mean, he had an amazing match on Raw, I believe, with John Cena. And right around that time, I'm like, oh shit, he's gonna get a huge push, because the match was great. He was over with the crowd, and then like a couple months later, he was gone. So I don't think he's 100% into it. I don't think he really even wants to be in TNA. I think it's just, what are you going to do? You need a paycheck. But if he had his choice to go to WWE tomorrow, he'd do it, because Damian Sandow looks nothing like Aaron Rex. They don't look like the same people at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, no, I can definitely understand why you would feel that way. And I don't know. I wish I had the magic answer as to why it's not going the way that, we kind of all think that it should, because it's just disappointing as hell. It's not happening. It's not happening at all the way that we wanted it to happen. And so I don't know what to say about that. I hope that it improves. I hope that Damian Sandow can get, his feet back under him and he can get to where he deserves to be. But, we'll see what's going on there later on. Next, we get the Broken Hardys in the ring, talking about the Great War, talking about their titles. Matt Hardy calls out the Young Bucks, the New Day. First of all, how do you feel about the Broken Hardys? As someone who watched WWE like I did, now, how do you feel about that?
First of all, in my opinion, we're considering Matt and Jeff Hardy. This is their best gimmick ever. Better than anything they ever had, period. And I think right now it's the number one thing in TNA, and probably what's keeping TNA's popularity level, regardless of how low it is, whatever popularity they have, I think it's a big doing with Jeff and Matt Hardy. I absolutely love everything they're doing. They're excellent on the mic. They're great in the ring. I just love everything about these guys. I've always liked these guys, but I think the older they get even better on the mic and in the ring. I mean, people have to remember, these guys have been around for over 20 years now. They've been doing this for a long time. And I think this is the most over they've ever been and the best they've ever been, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, especially for Matt Hardy, it's Matt was somebody who, honestly, he was like completely stale in TNA a few months ago, like to the point to where I didn't want to see him. I called for him to just kind of retire. Then he had the whole Big Money Matt character for a little while and moved on from that to Broken Matt. And it's just been great. He's completely turned me around. And for someone who's as low on him as I was initially at the beginning of this year, I hated seeing Matt Hardy on my TV. If you go back and listen to the first couple of episodes, Let Me Talk to You, every time he came on the screen, I was like, please, no. Like, why? Why is he the champion? Why this? No, I don't like it. And now I look forward to Matt Hardy segments. Every time he's coming on the TV, I look forward to it. So, see, somebody be able to refresh their career as long as they've been in the game, and to really, this wouldn't happen anywhere else. Let's just go ahead and say that this character, this storyline would happen nowhere else but TNA, and he sold it and made it work. And so, it's fun stuff. Matt Hardy during this says that he had a premonition saying that he sees the next contenders or who's going to come after the titles. The tribunal ends up coming out and attacking them. You may know them from NXT, but this isn't what I expected for him. I don't know where this storyline's going with having the tribunal of all people attack the Hardys, because they have no chance to hell of taking those titles off the Hardys. If they do, I'm going to be cursing. You're going to see me on this thing. I'm going to be like, Edna, God damn it, shit.
I just started watching TNA, but from what I know of Tribunal, I don't see. But let's be honest, who really does have a shot right now? I mean, who in TNA has such a strong tag team that can get over on the Hardys, what they're doing, and can be so, drive so much heat? Is there anybody?
No, I mean, there is nobody but Decay, and that's probably why they're trying to, and I mean, there's been reports that they're trying to actually bring in teams from other companies.
Yeah, I read that.
Against them, and that's probably because they have no real threats. Everyone's injured, and they haven't really spent the year building up other tag teams like they should have. Everything this year built up to Decay versus the Broken Hardys. Like that was it. That's all they have for the tag team division. I don't know if that's the way it started out. I don't know when they got these plans together, but everything culminated in that, and they really don't have any other plans at all. There's nothing else that they can do at all to division except bringing in other tag teams. And by God, look at the talent WWE is able to bring in with the Cruiserweight Classic. Even though a lot of those guys weren't big names, and most of the people who watched Cruiserweight Classic may have not known them, but they were talent. So if they can bring in quality talent, regardless of names or whatever else is going on, they can make this a must-see thing. And the whole, I forgot what they're calling it, but it's going to be a whole episode at the Hardy compound. And, total nonstop deletion. That's what it's called.
That's what it is, yeah.
I can't wait for that. Like, I cannot wait for that. And it's going to be amazing. And so hopefully they can do something to send it off. I think that may be the last episode of the year of this tapings that they're doing, because they haven't actually taped that yet. And hopefully they can pull it off. And I have faith in they have. The other things they've done have really been great. So hopefully that continues. But that's all I have to say. The next segment is one that I was really waiting to get your thoughts on and talk to you about. And that is Cody versus Mike Bennett. How do you feel seeing Cody not as Stardust? Like, let's start off with that. How do you feel about that?
I feel great. I feel like before Cody became Stardust, I think he was actually on his way to becoming somebody. I always liked his in-ring work. I just felt he was a little weak on the mic, but I felt he was improving on the mic. And then he kind of went away for a little bit and came back as Stardust, and I was like, oh, freak, there goes everything. So I'm happy to see him back as a normal person, and I think TNA is going to give him a proper push, although this whole thing with him getting a championship match right away off the bat, again, that's some crazy booking to me, but I'm glad to see him back, and I want to see what he does, and I want to see where it goes, but he absolutely deserves it because he does have talent, and he's getting better and better all the time. So I want to see what they do with him. I think he's going to be a big integral part of TNA, though.
Yeah, me too. I think he's going to be really big there. So the match itself, though, how'd you feel about this match? I think my opinion may be a little controversial, may piss some people off. So I want you to go first. So
here's my thing. I thought the match was okay, which was crazy because I know Cody's good in the ring, and I actually am very big on Mike Bennett. So I thought the match would be better than it was. I'm not saying the match was horrible. Maybe they should have gotten a little bit more time because I don't know if you have the time on it, but I'm sure they only went on for about 10 minutes. I would like to see a longer match, but it wasn't something to brag home about. It was just okay, in my opinion. If I'm not mistaken, this was Cody Rhodes' in-ring debut, no?
Yeah, it was his in-ring debut in TNA.
Yeah, so I understand what they were trying to do. They wanted like a big match feel, but maybe they should have had him fight somebody else to showcase his talents for those who, for some reason, those who might not know who he is or forgot about him, and then work their way up to this feud. But I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, I wasn't 100% impressed with the match. It was just okay.
Yeah, and the thing is they built this match very well, I feel like, in the segments and talking about it throughout the show, but the match just didn't deliver, to be quite honest. It was boring. It lacked any flair. They were trying to give it some, and it wasn't that to me. It was just kind of there, and I hate saying that because Mike Bennett, he's put on some very good matches since he's been in TNA. I mean, just overall in his career, and we know how good Cody can be in the ring, and it just, for whatever reason, why? But it sucks, man. It definitely sucks that it didn't work out the way that it should have. It's unfortunate, but nonetheless, I mean, compared to some of the stuff we got on the show, I think it was pretty good. Yeah. I don't know if I hyped myself up on it. Maybe I expected too much because I didn't get what I expected. It was just okay. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was okay, and that is what it is. The next match, though, and that is DJZ versus Marsh Rocket. I can't remember how they pronounced his first name.
Was it Rocket or Roche or something like that?
Roche, I think it was Rocket. But okay. This match, as much as I love DJZ, no, this match did nothing for me. Like it, and I thought that some of the cruiserweight stuff lacks a little flair on Raw. This, oh man, I hate being so down. I wish Josh was here because he tends to like stuff that I don't like. And it makes the podcast just, at least it's not just me and both of us not liking it. I didn't like this match. It was what it was, and for Marche Rocket to kind of get that whole segment and try to make him seem like a big deal, and this is the match that we get from it. I have to give it the thumbs down here. Do you agree?
Absolutely not. 2 thumbs up for me. Easily one of the best. I would say top 10 matches I've ever seen in the 30 plus years I've been watching wrestling. I mean, the story they told in the ring, the move sets, it was amazing. I mean, like this is like straight to DVD type quality matches here. I mean, it was amazing. They just told an awesome story. It was just, I'm speechless because it was just great in-ring work from both guys. I literally had a tear in my eye. That's how amazing it was. It was just beautiful art.
So did Bob give you some weed before we started doing this podcast?
Let me be honest. I just did that. That whole match sucked. And also, how the hell is that? How the hell is that guy even in the X division? I understand it's not for cruiserweights, but come on, let's be serious. He's not in the crew. He shouldn't be in the damn X division. He's too big of a guy to be in the X division. Nobody else is that size in the X division.
Yeah, like it's why? And don't get me, the whole thing with the X division is it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits, or however else they used to say it. I don't remember the old catchphrase. But they used to do that so that you can have a contrast of styles and it can make it feel unique, what you're going to get in the X division. But I was not interested in this at all. It was what it was. You know what? We're spending more time on it than what we should for something that sucked as bad as it did. Let's move on to the knockouts match. Something that at least they tried. And I can't say that this match was much better. So we're going kind of from bad to more bad here. I keep asking you because I know you don't usually watch TNA. You're just freshly getting into it, though. Gail Kim. Not seeing Gail Kim since she's been in WWE. How do you feel about Gail Kim seeing her here now and knowing she's in the Hall of Fame in TNA? She's the champion. How does that make you feel?
It's all right. I mean, I actually went back and I've seen some of her matches, like with Awesome Kong and some of her other matches in TNA. And I guess her for TNA, her Hall of Fame is warranted. She had a good career. So it was good. This match was horrible, obviously. It wasn't. Again, when I saw this match, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking we're gonna get a really good match, and they're bringing out the trash cans and this and that, but it just wasn't. It didn't fit my expectations. I don't mind looking at the two, but the match just wasn't. It didn't do it for me. It just didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean like I said, it sucked. It was terrible. I never want to see this match again. I kind of feel like it's a assault on my eyeballs. The fact that they put these two matches back to back, try to mix it up, put something decent between two matches like this. But, no, man. And that's the thing that sucks about always having these non-wrestlers, even though I know Maria did wrestle in feuds with people who can actually wrestle. It limits what you can really do. You kind of have to resort, I should say, to gimmicks like this. And it just didn't do anything for me at all. It didn't serve either women. Gail Kim, I think, is worth and should be getting something that's a little more marquee than this, something that actually makes her feel like she's doing something that we're interested in. Why put Gail Kim in this? But it is what it is.
Absolutely. What I would do, I mean, like, you always talk about CEO being the booker. If I was booking at this point, I would do something kind of like what you just said. I would have Gail Kim feud around the women's title with someone that can go with her in the ring. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Maria and the stuff that she's doing with what's the girl's name? Allie?
Yeah, Allie.
The stuff that she's doing with Allie, for me, it's entertaining. So they should just continue to do their thing, get Maria away from the title, let Gail Kim and whoever else, do their thing in the ring. So we got a good wrestling match, and then we got a good storyline going with Allie and Maria, which because I find it entertaining, and every week I'm like, okay, this is going to be the week that Allie's going to just erupt. So we know it's going to happen eventually. So I'm just looking forward to seeing that happen. So that part of it is good, but I don't want to see these two in the ring together anymore.
Yeah, at least not for Allie is actually. Yeah. Allie's actually a really, really good wrestler, and I don't know. I would like to see more done with her than get shit like this. To be quite honest, like why? But hey, it is what it is. Hopefully, it improves and we get something more done. Hopefully, now that she's lost this, she can transition and focus solely on the Cody. the Bennett's versus the Rhodes. Let's get that going on. I think that could be better since Brandy's, she's new to wrestling. She's not an established wrestler, so maybe they can make that more entertaining. But yeah, I want to see more done with Gail Kim. I really do, and we'll see. Spoilers be damned. I know. There's reports that she's injured or whatever, but hopefully we see more. But next we get EC3 cutting a promo backstage. The fact of challenging for the title when Eli Drake, my guy Eli Drake, my favorite person on the TNA roster right about now, comes up and he cuts an entertaining promo. What have you thought since watching TNA about Eli Drake, his promo skills, in the ring skills, just overall package of Eli Drake?
I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. This whole time watching TNA tonight, I kept on saying to myself, where the hell is Eli Drake? Please come out and do something. Save the show somehow. I'm very, very big on Eli Drake. The few weeks I've seen him, I've seen him a couple times in the ring, really good on the mic. I love this segment last week with EC3 and him, that little talk show thing that he did. Probably the best segment last week, at least in my opinion. So I obviously, we're going to get EC3 versus Eli Drake. That feud's going to go on. So I'm interested to see how that goes. And I'm very big on Eli Drake. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, Eli, I'm huge. And I've been saying for a while now, Eli Drake is, what was I going to say? Eli Drake, 2017, if TNA is still around, is going to be the year Eli Drake. Just mark my words. Like they're just if you've watched it from the beginning of this year when he was in a feud with Grado, like of all people, Grado. Then he got the King of the Mountain title. He ran with that. He killed that, and now he's been slowly inching closer towards the main event. I think he's going to get that title in 2017. He's going to probably feud with EC3, maybe Moose, but I think it's going to be just like this year was the year of Matt Hardy and a renaissance for him. I think Eli Drake's year may be 2017. At least I hope it is.
Well, he did win the Bound for Championship thing, didn't he?
The Bound for Gold, yeah.
So do you think that'll eventually lead to his title based on that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what that is. It was a perfect way to get him because he had a briefcase early in the year for a shot at the King of the Mountain title. So now he has that shot that he can use whenever he wants to. I think he has to give like a week notice before he uses it, which is weird. But for the world title, and I absolutely think he's going to come for it. I absolutely think that's what the point of it is. That may even be why they put the title on Eddie Edwards, is because you don't want to have Eli Drake going over on another hill. You don't want to have him go over on someone you built the way that they built Lashley over this year. So Eddie Edwards is one of those champions to where champion, he can lose the title at any time and you wouldn't be surprised at it. So maybe that's the way it builds. And, also you're getting the fans behind him because, like I said, it's kind of an underdog story with him. And what better way to get your heel over than have him, destroy your underdog. So, and then maybe have them feud for a little while and then, move on to whatever else. But I think that's what's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, I can see that, and that would actually make sense. So, he defeats Eddie Edwards, and then he probably goes on to feud with EC3, and they have a little thing going on. So I can see that happening. And like you said, it'll be weird if he goes after Lashley, considering they're both heels. So, and I don't see EC3 beating Eddie Edwards for the title. So, again, that's face versus face, so it makes sense. So, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense what you just said there.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. And next is our main event. And I think it was probably the best match on the show, which doesn't really say much because overall the show was down, which I'm really down completely on TNA like I am now. I just feel sorry for people who are listening now. They're probably getting depressed. They're like, why the hell am I watching this? But, this match, EC3 and Moose have no chemistry in the ring. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but I'm going to say something that'll probably get me a lot of heat. I'm really not a fan of Moose. I'm not. He doesn't do anything for me. EC3, I like his in-ring work. For a big guy, he can move. Moose is not. I don't know. He doesn't do it for me. On the mic, he's okay, but in the ring, I feel like he's slow, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I need more time to look at him, but it doesn't do it for me. And EC3, my God, this guy's like a walking poster for steroids. Like he has so much like acne and shit on his back, and oh my God, what's wrong with this guy?
We're not going to speculate on that. We don't talk about stuff like that.
Okay, we'll just keep that hush hush.
Yeah. What steroids? What's that? Roman Reigns? What? Okay. Anyway,
Substance abuse.
You can tell TNA has no wellness policy. Absolutely. But this like I said, it honestly felt like they didn't rehearse this at all. It felt like maybe this was something they just said literally, hey, you guys are having a match in 30 minutes. Because good wrestlers to me, like EC3 is great in the ring usually. And Moose, okay, I understand he has a lot of potential. I understand for the amount of time he's been wrestling, he's very good for that amount of time, and he's solid. I don't think Moose is a bad wrestler by any means. I can see why people love him. I love him personally, and I can see all that, except when he talks on the mic. Because when he talks on the mic, he makes this face where it looks like he barely missed out on Down syndrome. But
I like him on mic. He's okay on mic.
Okay, so maybe it's the face. Like he delivered decent promos, but he has this thing that he does when the other person is talking. He sits there with his mouth partially open, and this look on his face is just screams like, "Do you have peanut butter? I really want some peanut butter. Does anybody have peanut butter? Edna, peanut butter, please." Like I don't know what it is, but it's something about Moose that just certain things are awkward to me. But overall, I like Moose. But this match wasn't really indicative of either one of their skill sets. I really don't know how to really break down this match other than just saying it was two big people slapping each other for almost 10 minutes. Like that's all I felt like. I felt like they were punching each other, slapping each other, a couple of drop kicks, a couple of chops, a backslide. It just was here, and it pisses me off that this is the episode of Impact we get. And oh God, I'm sorry. I'm my veins are popping in my neck. I'm clearly frustrated.
Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
This round of tapings, was this the first episode for this round of tapings?
No, this was this is the second episode since Bound for Glory. So this
right. Second. Okay, so let me ask you this, and let me know if this is a fair question, because you know better than me. Do you think with all the talks that are going on regarding selling of TNA, these guys don't know where their future, what's happening with their future? TNA is kind of down right now. Do you think these guys are just like, we just don't give a shit? I'm not saying all of them. Some of them are just like, we don't really give a shit. Some of them are kind of phoning it in, or do you think they're more bigger professionals and they're like, hey, we got a job too, whether it's one person in the audience or a million, we're going to go out there and do it? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
No, I mean, I would absolutely think that has something to do. I mean, these people's livelihoods are at stake. And I know people who hate TNA would just say, oh, well, they can go get jobs somewhere else. But the thing matters is that you have to still go find those jobs. And then even then, who's to say that they're going to wind up in a position to where they're going to be any better? Like, don't get me wrong, TNA's top guys, they'll be absolutely fine. They could probably go over to NXT, make more money, that'll be fine. But when you're people like Crazy Steve and you're getting a push, you're probably the second best tag team in the company, you're gonna go somewhere. Let's say you go to Japan, let's say you go to ROH, it's not gonna work the same way for you. Like it's just not. So that's nerve-wracking. And for people like I said, Crazy Steve, Grado, which TNA keeps him.
I love Grado.
Shara, the Tribunal. Like if you're these people and TNA closes, even if ROH signs you the very next day, if you can't get the crowd behind you, if you can't somehow get some momentum going,
done.
You're gonna get cut. Then what? He uses the Tribunal. You know why? Because they have no one else to use. And I hate to say it, but it's another place for people to work, and they're getting screen time. So no matter if they plan on being in TNA forever till the cows come home, or they're using TNA to improve their stock to go somewhere else, it's still some place that someone can work. You can get experience, and you can help yourself down the road, because it's not that easy to just say, "Hey, I'm just going to go over to ROH and I'm going to be good." You're not going to, like, ROH has one show a week that's 1 hour. 1 hour. Like, yes, they have more pay-per-views, but they have 1 hour. TNA has 2 hours. They have a prime time slot. You're not getting that anywhere else. So I mean,
yeah. So I mean, if I was a wrestler and you know WWE wasn't an option, I would easily want to be in TNA for those exact reasons. You get the TV time with them. You know, they do their things. They have a lot of online content. You know, exclusive videos, whatever they do. So obviously TNA would be the second choice. So a lot of these guys, like you said, it's their livelihood. So, you know, again, it's a lot to probably think about. Like, hey, what's going to happen with the company? Are we going to be out of jobs? And like you said, the top guys, you know, they're going to be fine. The Lashleys and the Bennetts, and you know, these guys are going to be fine. But the guys like, you know, Grado and Crazy Steve, especially like a guy like Crazy Steve, those exact two guys, their gimmicks may not necessarily work everywhere. So it's like, okay, where do we go from here? You know what I mean? And you know.
Yeah.
You really don't know what's going to happen. And I kind of feel for these guys, you know, because at the end of the day, as much as they're like superheroes and shit that we see on TV and they're these characters, at the end of the day, they're normal people like you and I.
Exactly. And that I mean, that would wear on anybody. Just imagine if you went to work and your boss told you, like, hey, we may be selling, we may be closing. I don't know what's going to happen with your job.
That's
and
huge.
But the difference with me and you is, if our jobs did that, we're not under contract. We can flip them the bird and go find another job probably the next day. Like,
Exactly.
they still technically open. So unless they plan on letting people out their contracts, they can't just go to NXT. You can't do that while you're waiting. You literally have to sit on your thumbs and your hands and look and say, hey, I can't move into something happens either way. Until TNA gets sold, I can't go anywhere else. And we're not taping anymore. So I can't work for you until you decide if you're still going to be open. So it's just a terrible situation to be in.
Absolutely agree.
So, I mean, that runs down our episode of Impact. I think I may subtitle this one The Great Depression, because that's how this episode made me feel. But, you know, we usually get into top 10 rankings. I would ask you, I'm still going to ask you, I know it's going to be low, 1 through 10 rating out of this.
Is 1 the absolute lowest I can do?
1's the absolute lowest you can do. You can go 0 if you want.
No, I'm just kidding. I would never give a show a 0. I mean, or a 1 even. I mean, it wasn't a 1. Let's be real. I'd have to give it. I'd say maybe. I'll be nice and I'd say like a 4.5.
Yeah,
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to give it a 5.
Can I just say this real quick? Like, one thing, like, I tried to attempt to watch TNA back in 2010. I told you this off air before. Like when Bischoff came in and Hogan, and they were on Monday nights, and they did, you know, I was trying at that time in 2010, trying to give them a little watch, and I was liking what they were doing. I remember AJ Styles was champ back then, and he was with Ric Flair, and he's wearing the suits and everything, and that's when I first saw AJ Styles, and I liked them, and I liked what they were doing. And then for whatever reason, I kind of fell out of TNA. So when I came back this time, the one thing that really intrigued me with TNA is, although the wrestling wasn't 100% excellent, the stories are built so good and their feuds are built so good. But I felt this week they were kind of missing that aspect. Like, yeah, we got a little bit of story, but nothing that was like over the top. Oh man, this is great. This is intriguing. And the in-ring work was just mediocre. So it didn't do it for me this week. 4.5, 5 at best.
Yeah, and like I said, I have to rank it a 5. I really don't go too much. It's very rare that I go lower than that. I've given episodes of Raw that were worse than that higher ranking. So, that's just how I feel about it, and it's more so because of the wasted potential and everything else that's going on. You really don't want to just throw layups up, and you know it kind of was what it was. All serious, I know we joke but with everything going on with this company, I just want to see more, and I want to see better, and I hope better for everyone here. And you know, you brought up the very good point of saying, you know, maybe it is the stuff behind the scenes that are really starting to get this, because no one had that flair. And even Cody Rhodes, who was making his debut, it's kind of like, could you imagine coming into a situation like this and you're the hot new free agent? It's kind of like, wow, like Why did I even if it's a part-time dude be over in Japan right now? And I don't know. I hope that they can improve. I hope this was just a down week. Maybe this was just a week where they were using to kind of give some people breaks, kind of take it easy, and then they're going to kick up the story.
I'm hoping.
So we'll see what happens next weekend. Again, I want to say thank you, everyone who's listening to this podcast, watching and listening live on MixLR. Is that JB did this for me very last minute. I think I text you around noon today and asked you if you could do it.
Yeah, it was around noon.
So yeah. I mean, it is what it is. There, I appreciate you being able to step in. Josh is on vacation, that bastard. But you know, TNA Impact, you have me down this week. I'm hoping next week is a little bit better than this. Not a little bit. I hope it's a lot of bit better than this. And hopefully we can get back to what we're used to. Hopefully we can get some good storytelling and what TNA is capable of. For everyone listening in the live chat on MixLR, yeah, we reached the end point of our show. We're really closing out now. We want to say thank you for all our listeners. Also, check out the Wrestling World Podcast Network. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play. We're everywhere. So check us out there. Download our podcast. We have the new, which just debuted, the Next Level podcast with Andrew Bello, which that guy, to think that was only the second podcast he's ever recorded is an amazing episode. So check that out. I'm very happy, very proud of him that he wanted to join the network, and he's a natural, just to be quite honest. JB, you know, you were the same way. I'm blessed. Like the WWPN is blessed. We are coming together very nicely. I think I love the way all our talent is and works together, and how the camaraderie between all of us here. And you know, we're continuing to grow, we're continuing to get better. And so thank you for supporting us there. JB, plug your social media, tell the people where they can find you so they can harass you on Twitter.
Absolutely. And before I actually plug my Twitter, I want to plug also a new show coming out. We talked about a little bit coming out towards the end of October, called Throwback, where me and Hayes we recap some older pay-per-views, 80s, 90s. Where our first episode is going to be on the 1992 Royal Rumble, which was a classic. If you guys have never seen that, go out and watch it. But yeah, I just want to also thank everybody for listening, for watching. It's, you know, a YouTube video, you know, we're going to be on YouTube, so please like, subscribe, share the videos. Always feel free to email us, tweet us, whatever. I could be reached on Twitter at WWPNJB. Please feel free to tweet me with any questions, comments, anything you like. And thanks, everybody, for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your continued support. You can follow me at CEO Hayes. That is CEOHAIZE on Twitter. You can also follow the Wrestling World Podcast at Wrestle World without the O cast on Twitter, which I'm thinking about changing. Thinking about changing to the WWPN to match our new website that's coming out soon. So people have had a little bit of trouble finding us. Also, be on the lookout. Like I said, we're live on MixLR. All our shows are going to start being live there. Also going to start streaming live on YouTube. So just be on the lookout there. You can follow us there however you want to get to us. And, you know, as JB said, we got Throwback coming out, another new show, which I'm excited to talk some old school wrestling. I can't wait till we do our first ECW pay-per-view, because I'm just going to go crazy. I may have to go full character on that one. But so thank you for listening. Thank you for coming out and supporting. We are signing off tonight. Good night.